is my favorite Superman? Well, I've got two answers. For animation, it's Tim Daly, always. But for live action, it's Henry Cavill, hands down. Today I want to talk about why I feel Cavill is the best live action Superman so far. Who would have guessed the perfect embodiment of a good old Midwestern American farm boy would come from the UK? Joking aside, Cavill's performance in Man of Steel feels like an homage to the classic leading men of the 50s and 60s. I'm not sure if that was intentional, but that's what I see. A quiet strength, restraint, and depth. In some live-action versions, Superman can come off as overacted or a little too larger than life. But not Cavill's take. There's a grounded sincerity to his performance. Something that actually reminds me of the DCAU Superman. Man of Steel doesn't copy the animated series, but it gives off the same emotional realism that I love in STAS and JLAS. Still trying to make it a thing, guys. Honestly, I think Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster would have been proud. And it's not just Cavill. The cast in Man of Steel was phenomenal. Amy Adams, Lawrence Fishburne, Diane Lane, Kevin Costner, Christopher Meloni, and Russell freaking Crowe, to name a few. The film is a perfect example of how strong actors elevate each other with super storytelling. Okay, this might be turning into a full-on Man of Steel fangirl moment, so I'll rein it in a bit. I've already shared my love for the movie on my podcast, Totally Shway Flipside. So today is really about Cavill. He was new to me when I first saw Man of Steel. I hadn't seen The Tudors, and I had only caught The Man from U.N.C.L.E. afterward. So when he showed up as Superman, it was a fresh impression. And as someone who was born in the 80s and grew up in the 90s, yes, I'm vintage, I'd seen many takes on the character. But Cavill made Superman feel real, like an actual guy from Kansas. Watching him on the screen, I could totally imagine Clark Kent at a Kansas City Chiefs game, rocking a KC ball cap with Kevin Costner next to him, both cheering like proud Midwestern boys. It's rare that a superhero performance gives me such vivid, grounded, mental images. But Cavill did. Now I know a lot of people have beef with this Superman because he broke Zod's neck to dismiss him from the classroom. But to me, that adds to the realism. Cavill's Superman had a choice to make: kill Zod or let innocent people die. Anyone who knows anything about Superman knows that he will always save innocent people because Superman is a hero and he was raised by humans. The scene itself is remarkable. Cavill's face when he makes the decision breaks my heart every time. Even though I believe it was the right choice, you can still see Superman/Cavill's emotions painted all over his face. I can't imagine that being an easy scene to film. Whenever I watch this scene, I can't help but to be reminded of Marlon Brando's iconic performance in A Streetcar Named Desire. Most people remember the famous "Hey Stella!" I tried. They remember that moment, and rightfully so. It's one of the most quoted lines in cinema history. But for me, it wasn't the shouting that left a mark. It was Brando's physicality, the way he used his entire body to portray a broken, volatile man. How he could shift from a violent, abusive drunk to a desperate, love-stricken husband all within a few breaths. His expressions, posture, and even the tension in his hands told a deeper story than the words alone ever could. Watching Cavill in this scene gave me that same feeling. He transitions from reluctant executioner to grief-stricken family member, carrying the weight of impossible choices on his shoulders. You can see the conflict boiling inside of him: anger, sorrow, duty, regret, all fighting for control at the same time. Of course, the characters that they're playing are entirely different, and the stories are worlds apart. But that raw, embodied emotion, the vulnerability, and shining through strength all felt like a clear parallel to me. I wouldn't be surprised if Henry Cavill took some inspiration from Marlon Brando, consciously or not. Great actors often echo one another in unexpected ways. Now let's talk about the suit. I think you can tell what era a Superman film came out by the suit. In the early days, Superman's costume resembled a circus strongman outfit, and the on-screen version, played by George Reeves, looked a bit like he was wearing a onesie. Cool onesie, but a onesie nonetheless. It was a simpler time and more wholesome. We were supposed to suspend our disbelief and just marvel at this hero. Then we have the iconic Christopher Reeves costume, which still had the slight homemade feel to it, very much like it was something you might see in the real world. Not overproduced, not too glossy, very down to earth, which is kind of ironic given his powers. Brandon Routh's costume was similar, but a little too polished, like the early 2000s in general. It had less of a spandex look and more mesh-like with darker tones. Henry Cavill's costume continues in a similar vein, but it more resembles body armor or a uniform rather than something his mother stitched together for him. If you're a keen Superman fan, you probably immediately notice something major about this suit. It's missing the iconic trunks. This version of the suit was heavily inspired by the New 52 era in the comics, a time when DC decided to modernize a lot of their heroes' looks, and one of the first things to go was Superman's red underwear. For longtime fans, it was a bold and slightly controversial change that has since been undone. But Man of Steel was one of the most high-profile moments where Superman officially went sans trunks on the big screen. And just to clarify, because I know how the internet works, he isn't naked. Settle down, TikTok thirst trap creators who post about Henry Cavill. He is wearing a suit. It's just redesigned version of the one we grew up with. The color scheme also changed. Instead of the bright, vibrant reds and blues we usually associate with Superman, this suit features a more muted, almost metallic palette. It's less comic book pop, more grounded realism. I suspect that's exactly what the filmmakers were going for. A Superman who looks like he could exist in our world. Well, as realistic as a flying alien in tights can be. It's a bold take on a classic look, and whether you love it or not, it definitely marked a new era for the character. My opinion? Honestly, I liked it. The design actually reminded me of Columbia's new Omni-Heat Infinity technology. You know, that reflected material they use in their outdoor gear. It's not just for keeping hikers warm. It's the same kind of tech that's going to be used on a spacecraft and landers to help protect sensitive instruments from space. That's pretty cool. I know Columbia's Omni-Heat Infinity came after Man of Steel, but I still think it's really cool that the suit's design ended up looking like tech that's actually going to be used in space. Whether intentional or not, Superman's suit resembles real, cutting-edge material that's designed for spacecrafts, just adds another layer of cool to it. It's kind of poetic, honestly. Superman, an alien from another planet, wearing a suit that looks like something humanity will eventually send into the stars. Whether it was planned that way or just a happy accident, it feels fitting. It's one of those little details that makes me appreciate the design even more. So yeah, Henry Cavill is my favorite live-action Superman. Not because he is perfect, not because his movies didn't have flaws, but because his version of the character feels the most human to me. He captured that delicate balance of power and vulnerability. Alien and hometown farm boy, godlike strength with Midwestern humility. The suit, the performance, the emotional weight, all of it worked for me in a way no other live-action version has. And sure, Superman has and will continue to be reinvented again and again, whether it's animated, rebooted, or spun into multiverses. That's what makes the character timeless. But for me, Cavill Superman will always be the one that made me stop and say, yeah, that's what Superman would be like if he really walked among us.